Makes me think of like vitamins that actually taste good. Because vitamins taste like vitamins.
Right. True. That is very true.
I'm just trying to think
vitamins.
I'm just trying to think of like what is next, because ultimately I think there's a growing awareness that the things that go in our bodies matter probably more than we thought. We thought our bodies were quite resilient to essentially anything that we'd put in them. And then over time, whether it's coming from news outlets or statistical data or the CDC, everybody's essentially addressing the same topic as far as just pay attention to what goes in.
Right.
This mimicry is starting to help us adjust what goes in, right? And just create balance. We're not trying to turn the world into vegans.
Exactly.
But as far as additional thing, D3, especially people who live in a northern state, could probably use more of that. Finding a way to actually get that into the body to where it's not nuanced or, just awkward. Because vitamin regimens are not, something that you plan on doing when you're in your 20s. And a lot of people don't even ever do it. It's just so foreign, and it's such a learned behavior that it sucks, and you might try it for a month and then forget about it, and then days go by. So
I think vitamins are interesting to me too, just because they're something that I think a lot of people take without maybe necessarily needing them. I think D3 is a perfect example.
Totally agree.
Perfect example of something that's deficient. But I look at how many people have just started popping pills because it's like an insurance plan for their diet, and I'm just not sure that's the.
That's probably not the case either. Where 14 different pills go in before the end of the night. Anything I did before that, I'm cool with. This is like an offset.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But you do see, we're finding these different ways. There's a lot of people that are trying to get this idea of wellness, whether it's going to be like a greens mix or something like that, or turn it into a smoothie shake and hide it. You're essentially trying to flavor mask things inside of that stuff.
Right.
Like trying to figure out how to get good things into these learned behaviors that we learn as kids. Like we love to eat pancakes and waffles and cookies and all of these things as kids where you have these emotional connections to them. Burgers. Like I grew up, I feel like every summer we didn't even eat inside where I grew up.
Yeah.
I was just used to the grill. I know the smell of the grill. And so finding ways to essentially like recreate that emotion, that's like the leap that a few brands are actually doing really well at.
Yeah, I think there's the emotional side of things, and then there's also just kind of like you were, I think, going at before that was the nutritional side. Just people who are looking for that balance of protein or fiber or other ingredients that they're not getting in their diet today, and they know they should be. So I feel like there's sort of a dichotomy. You're either the person who it's very emotional and you really just want those craveable homemade moments, or you're really driving hard to say, I'm just trying to do the right things for my body, for my family, and make sure there's a good health status there. I think right now it's not easy to do both at the same time.
Yeah. And I honestly think that's even the person doing that for their family. That's a learned behavior. That was probably built in from their childhood. Or, there's an event happened. They got married to somebody who's a health advocate, or there was some kind of event that's going to scare them.
Right. Some kind of health diagnosis.
Yeah. Those are the shifts.
Right.
That's where, obviously you're going to get the most sustained effort there in dietary changes and whatnot. But I think the reality is it's hard. It's hard. It can be very expensive to make those changes. And that's another thing that's very, very hard to sustain. Like there's a point where you can't keep on buying like the same $6 thing when it's sitting on the shelf next to the $1.99 thing. You got more to buy.
And more prep time usually as well.
Yeah. We haven't unlocked that yet.
No. No, and I think there's a lot of things still to unlock. We say tipping point, and I think we're at the beginning. I still feel we're near the beginning of the tipping point, not that we're passing through that yet. I still feel there's a lot of people who aren't even aware very much of anything going on in the plant-based movement. They might have seen a Beyond Burger ad or, some alternative burger ad, and they kind of glance at it. Oh yeah, I've heard of that, but they're not actively pursuing any changes. I think it'd be interesting to know a little bit more about what that percentage looks like in our world today right now. Because I think it's really easy for folks that are in the industry of plant-based to think that it's tipped further than it has.